Welcome to the Empowering Perspective Podcast. I am your host, Dwayne Dwyer, and I am excited because this is a conversation that I know for a fact that is much needed. And I really think that if we really listen to it, can get a lot of useful information that we can actually help to shape our situations, to kind of help shape the situations for people that are coming behind us, our children. And if you're old enough like me, I got a grandson, so it's kind of important for this information to get out. I'm really excited, and to help me with a particular conversation that is very important. And the topic is going to be post-divorce parenting. And to help me with this conversation is my new friend, Onita Simpson. Onita, welcome to today's show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about today's topic.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited as well. I agree with you. I think it's going to be a phenomenal conversation. So with that being said, if you would do us a favor, right, just kind of introduce yourself to everybody. Let them know a little bit about your background and what brings us to this point.
My name is Onita Simpson, as you said. I am a single mother of two daughters who are 19 and 17. One will be graduating next month. I'm also an Army veteran. I served in the Army for 8 years, where I deployed. I was at Fort Bragg, Fort Bliss in Afghanistan. And part of the topic today is post-divorce parenting. I am also divorced, and I've been divorced officially since 2013. I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm a published author. I do public speaking. I mean, I got my hand in a whole bunch of different pots. But right now, I've been a paraprofessional for the last 20 years. So still contributing to the federal service. And that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
My goodness, that's a lot. That is a lot. So again, thank you for your service. And man, just thank you for all that you're doing to give back. And I think the bright spot in everything that you just named, everything that you just named, like you're doing that as a divorced parent, as a single parent. And I think that's phenomenal, because anybody who's listening, being, divorced, being single and raising a child, you can't use that as an excuse when you got people such as yourself who are trailblazing it, and then just, making it possible for everybody to learn from your own experiences. And again, public speaking, that is awesome. I need to pick your brain, because this is awesome. So let's talk divorce parenting. What is this? Like, help me to understand why did you want to just bring this topic to the table?
So many times I see my friends who are divorced, and I see how it affects them, or even before I was divorced, how it was affecting them. And when it was my turn, unfortunately, I decided that instead of me choosing to be bitter, I'm going to choose better, because my daughters are at stake, and I can't talk bad about their father, because that's half of who they are. And if I truly love them, then I have to do what's hard, but still love him at a distance by doing what I need to do for our daughters. So showing people it can be done. Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard right over the easy wrong, but you can do it, especially when you prioritize that your children here, their livelihoods, their future is at stake. It's easier when you think about it that way.
Absolutely. My goodness, this is so good, and I love hearing this, because I've been saying this for quite some time. Sometimes we got to get to the point that we realize that, hey, once the relationship doesn't work and we've identified that, well, there's still little people that are dependent upon us. And I think it's important that we get to the point of what I tend to call mature parenting. And that way that those young people can grow up to be healthy, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally and things of that nature. And we just don't understand how the cohesive unit between the mother and the father team facilitates that. So man, this is good. But so we got to talk about it, right? Because I know that there's some people out there who are just, right now they're thinking like, well, you know what? I hear what you guys are saying, but at the end of the day, they're impossible to get along with. I can't find the happy medium, or I can't make ends meet, or whatever the case may be. When it comes down to, divorce, like, let's just start there. What are some of the concerns that both the mom and the father are going to go through once they go back into their brand new, individually segregated lives and trying to parent at the same time?
I would say making sure the children still feel loved by both parents. And I'm just gonna say it, people ain't gonna like it, but divorce is a burden, but us talking poorly about the other parent that's not there to our children, that's not a burden you want to place on them. That's too big of a burden to put on our children that way. And it does affect them long term, emotionally, in other relationships. So that's a concern. Learning how to be quiet. There's a G in lasagna, but it's silent.
Yes.
We need to practice silence when it comes to talk about the other parent that's not there, because I'm sure they're going through their own trauma. They can pretend, but we know better. Absolutely. So that's a concern. And I'm not saying that me and their dad have the best relationship. I made it a point that, you know what, I don't really want to talk to him, but I do want them to have a relationship.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get an extra phone so that way he doesn't even feel obligated to talk to me. He can call them directly. Right. So I just took my out of it, but I made sure that they still had a way to communicate.
So you said a lot of great stuff, and I kind of want to back up and touch it. So you made mention of their future relationships depending upon it. What did you mean when you said that?
If we are sitting there trying to get them to buy in, it's like you talking to your best friend or your sibling. Somebody did something to you, and you want them to be on your side. I see it that way when we as parents, we're talking poorly to the children about the parent. We want them to buy into our hurt. And that damages their relationship or possible relationship with the other parent later on. It's not my job to talk poorly about him. I'm present. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And they'll figure it out on their own as they grow older. Who was really there? So do I really need their buy-in? I don't. I need to be present and be parenting the way that even if we work together, I'm still parenting the same way. The way that I parent them are things that we decided on when we were married. So even though we were divorced, the parenting didn't change. It was just who was doing it changed.
Yeah.
So I don't want them to grow up and be bitter towards their dad because of something that I said because I wanted them to take my side.
Yeah.
So no, that's emotional. I call it emotional abuse. I'm not going to do that. Yeah. I love these girls too much to add extra to what they're going to go through. This world is already hard enough. I'm not going to be the one that's adding extra onto what they got to go through.
Yeah. My goodness. Hats off to you. I mean, kudos to you. I love what you're saying because, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you're an active part of the solution, meaning that you're not just saying, well, it's his responsibility to do this. Like you're invited, and if I think I heard you correctly, you're saying you're still parenting now like you guys did when you were married. So that means Absolutely. That he gets a vote into the conversation of what's going to happen in their life moving forward. Is that, am I hearing you right when you say that?
When dating started, I said, hey, we need to have this conversation. Is 16 good? Is 17 good? And he said, can we push it back to 30? So there's certain things that I'm making sure I'm including him in, even though I'm the one that they're with 90% of the time. Right. But I want him to know what's going on. When prom happened, I said, make sure you FaceTime your dad so he can see what you look like for prom. That's not a requirement for me to do, but I want to make sure that he's seeing, hey, these girls are growing into young women and they're flourishing. Yeah. So regardless if he's here present or if he is in California where he is, I make it my business. If it was a birthday, if it was Father's Day, text your dad, call your dad. I don't have to do that, but I'm doing it because I want them to have a relationship with him, even if I'm not around.
Right. Yeah. See, I'm sorry. I'm loving this conversation because, and I'm sorry if I'm asking you to repeat some things because I really want this to be heard. And I think it's important to be heard. Like, you're not just, because I think a lot of times, and I like to make things simple sometimes, because in certain conversations like this, some people hear through the lens of their emotions. They don't necessarily put it into context. It's just like having a job, right? And I hate to kind of minimize this conversation to work, but you have your job description, and if you just do that, that's just your job. But that's it. But then you have those people who go above and beyond because they actually care about what they do. They care about the people there, and they care about the outcome of the environment. And when I hear this, for those people who are maybe struggling listening to this, I want to make sure I'm clear. Like, parenting is one thing, but responsible parenting is something totally different. Yeah, we can feed them, we can put clothes on their back at the end of the day, but how are we helping them to be to be to the point where they're whole, like psychologically, emotionally, all those things? How do we help them to nurture relationships? Have we taken the time ourselves to have a good understanding of what relationships are all about? And when I'm listening to you talk about this, I will be honest with you, like, for anyone who has been through a divorce, right? This guy right here, anybody who has been through a divorce, right? You should be able to resonate with what she's saying. And if you're not, it's only because you're putting yourself at the center of attention and not your child. And that, to me, is a huge mistake. Please go ahead.
That's it. You got to take yourself out of it, because it's not about you anymore.
Yeah.
It's about their well-being. And I had to, and I wrote that in my chapter in the book that I spoke of. I realized I had to love my daughters more than I hated him. And when I realized that I did that, there was nothing else that mattered. I mean, he could have said whatever he wanted, but I loved them more than I hated him. And because love always wins, it was easier for me to parent them that way.
I'm sorry, this is so good. I like to write down little key phrases that because I love it. I think that you brought the perfect word to the equation, right? You said, I need to love my daughters more than I hated him. Again, it just kind of goes back to what we just talked about, removing ourselves from the center and putting our child in the center. But then when we talk about that word love, if we have a very good understanding of what that actually means, it's always what I do for someone else. It's not about just focusing on me. And so again, the child is the center of attention. And we start talking about these different agencies out there that are supposed to be in place for the well-being of the child, right? They try to force the conditions for the child to be the center of attention. But unfortunately, in my opinion, and I have to say it that way, in my opinion, I think it drives just as much of a wedge in between the mother and the father as the divorce itself did. So man, this is just so good. So one other point, and then we're going to move on, because I'm loving all of this, right? So what about those parents, right? And again, your opinion. What about those parents who have the financial concerns that may become a huge point when it comes down to divorce? What are your thoughts in relation to that?
I had huge financial concerns. I had financial issues, and I'm just going to be honest. I pawned jewelry that I received from my ex-husband in order to purchase school supplies and uniforms. So I don't want anybody to think, oh, she don't understand. She don't know. I pawned stuff to make sure that I could provide for them. Wow. And then as time went on, I got, I worked harder at work. So I was visible to people who are in higher leadership positions, where then I started getting monetary awards. I got promoted. Yeah. I started doing photography. I picked up a trade because I want my daughters to have a great way of living. Yeah. Despite me being a single parent. Now, their dad did give financially, but it wasn't as much as we could, well, not we, but they needed. Right. So picking up extra things. But again, when I tell them, I was like, I remember I pawned my jewelry. just so that way I could buy them uniforms and school supplies.
Yeah.
So when somebody says, "Oh, you don't," "Oh, I don't." That stuff was in the pawn shop for 3 years. I paid on it every month for 3 years until one day I was able to financially go back and get it all back. And I haven't looked back since. But it is a concern. Sometimes we do have to pick up extra jobs.
Yeah.
And I'm just grateful that God blessed me with multiple gifts where I could pick up a camera and bless another family with a photo shoot.
Yeah.
And I really do enjoy it. And that money that I'm making here now is going back towards my daughters. I've been able to take them all around the world. Like, I mean,
Oh, wow.
I couldn't do this on my own. I know it was the Lord. But I remember when I might have ate a sandwich for the whole day because I had a certain amount of money to make sure that my daughters ate. I knew how much a pack of chicken wings cost.
Yeah.
So that way it's sacrifice. And I'm not downplaying it for anybody. It is hard. But there's agencies out there that will help. Church family, they were huge in helping with supporting at times. And I'm not telling anybody to go to the pawn shop. I'm just telling you, I was going to figure it out, Dwayne. I was going to figure out a way to make sure that these kids had what they had. If that meant taking that jewelry to the pawn shop, that's what I was going to do.
Absolutely, yeah. My goodness. I love it. I love it. And so again, you brought another word, one of my favorite words into the conversation. You said the word sacrifice. So first it was love. Now we're talking sacrifice. And in my opinion, they go hand in hand, right?
Yes.
We cannot say that we love a person if we're not willing to sacrifice for them. I think for me, I can't sacrifice anything in relation to that person for the sake of what it is I want the outcome to be. I have to be willing to sacrifice something about me, something about my own monetary, things, whatever, for the sake of that person. So I can't sacrifice the potential of a great relationship with their other parent, non-custodial parent, right? For the sake of saying that this is what parenting is. No. What I love about what you're saying is that you did the sacrificing for the sake of your daughters. And I got it. Most parents that will hear this, and I have to use the term most parents will say that they understand it. We parents understand sacrifice. We will go without for the sake of our children. But the question is, will you go without your own ego for the sake of what that child needs for their well-being and development? That's the most important thing that we as divorced parents need to sacrifice. And I think this is awesome. And again, thank you for sharing this with us. And I know this is, it's one of those discussions that aren't that easy to talk about. I got it. So thank you for your transparency and your honesty. And I just pray that people actually listen to what you're saying, because it's so